TGIF everyone, weather for Weather Geeks time. This is my third video of the day. I did one this morning from home. I did one as I usually do earlier in the afternoon, and this will be the longest and most detailed of the three, but we've got a lot to talk about tonight, so let's kind of get right to it. Of course, it's been a rainy day so far. The rain came in between 12 and 2 as advertised. Here's some backyard rainfall totals. These are rain gauges that are either owned by the Ohio Department of Transportation, or they are owned by weather enthusiasts who have the kind of station that you can upload data to the internet. That's where we get this data from. We pull it in from our internet connection, and about a quarter of an inch on average worth of rain out there today. The rain was mostly light, came down a little heavier from time to time, but generally speaking, it was just a good steady soaker this afternoon. Here's a live look at the radar as I record this at 7:20. Not going to spend a lot of time on this because most of you will be watching this well afterwards, but the steady rain long gone. We'll be dealing with some mist and drizzle and just sort of damp and murky conditions from here on out as we go through the night. You'll see that here on our high-resolution Futurecast. It's overdone with the amount of precipitation it has on here, but you get the idea. You're going to be flipping on the wipers a few times overnight tonight. And probably first thing tomorrow morning as well. Here at daybreak, still maybe a shower or a touch of drizzle around tomorrow morning. I think by the afternoon we're going to be in better shape. It's still going to be cloudy, but it will be dry tomorrow afternoon. Now, temperatures fell back when the rain pushed in. We had very dry air down here at the surface of the earth where we live, and as the rain falls into that dry layer of air, something happens called evaporative cooling. As the rain evaporates in that dry air, it has an effect of cooling the air. So we actually went from about 40 or so back down to about 33, 34 earlier on, and actually had a couple of reports of some rain freezing on surfaces down in Columbiana County in some of the low-lying nooks and crannies. It didn't last too long, I don't think, but that was reported earlier on today. Now temperatures are rising back, pardon me, into the upper 30s. We'll get back into the lower 40s tonight and kind of hang out there throughout the course of the night. All right, we've been tracking the Arctic hounds this week, and there they are up in Canada. Minus 20 in Key Lake, 20 below, Yellowknife up in the Northwest Territories, and this air is oozing east, and it's going to continue to just be flushed out of Canada several times coming up over the next week or so. Definitely the coldest stretch of the winter so far for much of the nation east of the Rockies. All right, the radar this evening. Let's throw a loop on this. All right, our rain today with the first low-pressure system that's moving through parts of Illinois and Indiana now. The next low is forming down here across the southern plains. There's actually a severe thunderstorm watch out for the Houston area. This is what's going to come north and bring us a variety of precipitation types as we go through the weekend. This is going to turn out to be a pretty big snow event, or at least a moderate-sized snow event for kind of this zone through here, roughly from the Ozarks up through St. Louis, or at least the St. Louis area, maybe just east of Chicago, and then heading up into parts of Michigan. So let's show you what will happen here on Futurecast. There goes low number 1 up through the northern lakes. Tomorrow, we're in between systems, so an uneventful day aside from the little bit of drizzle or mist at the start. And then the rain will return with the second low tomorrow night, probably about midnight or so. Notice the snow ongoing back towards Chicago and Fort Wayne and South Bend, heading up towards western parts of Michigan as well. We're going to be wet most, if not all, of Sunday morning into the midday hours. And then, as that low pushes east, the cold air will quickly collapse in behind it, and that means we're going to see a transition over to snow, probably on average between, say, noon and 3 p.m. from west to east. First places to see the transition will be places like Austintown, Lake Milton, Newton Falls, places like that. The last places to see the transition, Mercer, Grove City, eastern parts of Mercer and into Lawrence County. All right, so then the snow could thump for an hour or two Sunday afternoon. I don't think any sort of heavy snow lasts all that long, but there could be a pretty good thump with some big wet snowflakes around mid-afternoon on Sunday. Then just some leftover flurries for most of Sunday night and into Monday morning. Not concerned with any school adjustments Monday morning. Any sort of accumulating snow will be long gone by early in the day on Monday. All right, this is the in-house model. RPM is what we call this model, showing the snow accumulation going out through Sunday night into Monday. Let's stop it right there. This particular model, the current run has about an inch or so here locally, up to maybe 3 to 6 inches in a stripe from central Michigan back through Champaign, Illinois, South Bend, Indiana, places like that. And maybe a little enhancement near the lakeshore with the behind the system. There'll be lake effect in the snow belts from the wraparound snow itself. You know, anyone can see that, but the lake effect that comes in later Sunday night, that'll be mostly Ashtabula County, Geauga Lake, and then heading up into Geauga County, Lake County, I should say, and then heading up into Erie County, PA, and southwest New York. All right, our current models looking like this as far as snow accumulations. The GFS is the red line, has the most, generally between 1.5 inches and 2. This is all valid generally where the airport is, these lines. The European has a little over 1 inch. I just showed you the RPM close to 1 inch. The NAM model has a little over 0.5 inch on the current runs. Here's what I'm thinking as far as our forecast. I think especially north of Route 30, most places will get at least a coating on the grass, kind of a bare minimum. I think the most likely accumulation in most backyards, again, especially north of Route 30, if you're south of Route 30, coating might do it. But north of Route 30, I think some backyards are going to get 0.5 inch to 1 inch, enough to cover the grass. Enough to cover car tops. You'll have to get the brush out, that sort of thing. And concerned about the timing on this, the sunset is at 5 o'clock or so at this time of the year. And especially once we get past sunset and we have temperatures nosediving, even if there's 0.5 inch of snow, that could be enough to cause some real slick spots out there Sunday evening. So watch out for that. The most I can see right now is 2 inches out of this. I think very few places will get 2 inches, but the most likely accumulation, 0.5 inch to 1 inch. The wind gusts are going to be pretty impressive. Let me back this up. Wee hours of Sunday morning already gusting to 30, and then things can kind of peak midday and afternoon on Sunday. Right around the time we're transitioning over to snow, we could see some wind gusts pretty close to 40 miles per hour, staying blustery right through Monday morning. All right, let's talk about what's coming our way as we go into mid-week. After an uneventful day on Monday, pretty good-looking clipper is going to dive into the lakes on Tuesday. Here's a look at Tuesday morning. This is a classic Alberta clipper type system, fast mover, could have a thump of snow showers with it. This will be mostly during the daylight hours on Tuesday. This, to me, looks like a pretty classic 1 to 3 inch kind of a clipper with snowfall ratios probably around 10 to 1, generally speaking. So pretty typical, in other words. So not looking at, I don't think, an overachiever at this point, but I could see 2 or 3 inches in some spots out of this. Again, this will be during the day Tuesday. And the air behind this is going to be the coldest of the season. Wednesday, no better than 19 or 20 degrees. Stiff winds. Ooh, nasty day coming up on Wednesday. All right, next week, I just want to talk about this briefly. The pattern is ripe for some sort of storm that we haven't seen so far this winter across the eastern U.S. One that kind of starts in the southeast and might impact the East Coast, might impact our part of the country, even though I think the chances right now are kind of low. The pattern is ripe for that. Today's only Friday. We're talking about next weekend. So we're only going to talk about the pattern here because details are way, way too far off. But there's going to be a low that forms somewhere. Notice the little L's if you look carefully down here along the Gulf Coast. This is next weekend. Probably be a storm that forms somewhere in that region. Then what does it do? Let me roll this ahead, then I'll get out of the way again. This is next Sunday, the 17th. The GFS ensemble here has the low locations, kind of a variety of them around the East Coast. The pattern is ripe for some sort of snow event. Perhaps in the southern Appalachians, perhaps up into the central Appalachians, perhaps the East Coast cities, and a small chance back this far to the west. Something we're going to keep an eye on for next weekend. We haven't had a big snowstorm at all. Of course, this year we've only had 2 inches of snow so far. But this is the first time the pattern has been pretty good looking for some sort of event in the south or the east. And if everything comes together right, maybe it impacts us. So that's next weekend. Much more on that, of course, coming up next week. Thanks for sticking with me on this long weather for Weather Geeks. See you tonight on 21 News at 11. Have a great weekend, everyone. I'll be checking in on social media as usual with the changeable weather, particularly on Sunday. So check that out, and I'll see you back here on Monday.